Wind combs the bunch grass as dusk pours blue down slope. The trail lies empty, a ribbon through rabbit brush. Then, soft pads, a pause. A bobcat steps out, muscles flowing, eyes green in the thinning light. The hiker freezes, camera forgotten. Between the cat's teeth hangs a small, age-scored object the color of creekbed stone. The bobcat pads closer, lowers it to a boot toe as if completing ceremony, and waits. Silence opens. The hiker crouches. The object is heavier than expected, cool, with faint incisions under a crust of earth and the ghost of resin. Blood lifts in the hiker's ears. A whisper escapes. Why would a wild bobcat deliver something that looks older than the maps? Decision lands. Pocket. Zipper. Final. The bobcat blinks, slow, deliberate, the way trust sometimes begins, then turns uphill, disappearing into sage shadow. Dusk leans darker. Somewhere a hawk keens, and the promise of a story follows. Morning finds Erin Park rinsing trail dust from her boots in a studio that smells faintly of pine pitch and coffee. At 29, part-time trail crew, part-time wildlife photographer, she moves with the economical grace of someone who counts calories of effort, save it for the climb, the shot, the moment that matters. On the table, a small, age-scarred object rests on a folded washcloth like a sleeping seed. She has told no one except Ranger Luis Navarro, who taught her to read sign and silence. The apartment is a collage of stalled intentions, a stack of Grant Rejections fans beneath a withered fern. The camera case sits closed, a gentle accusation. After the breakup, her last documentary pitch unraveled. Strangers online called the concept soft, and the silence from festivals did the rest. She learned to distrust the quick leap of her instincts, to keep footage in the card rather than the world. At dawn, Luis texts, "Bring it in when you're ready. Go slow." He is pragmatic, a mentor who believes caution is a kindness. Aunt Jay leaves a voicemail full of blankets, casseroles, and the old family, warning, "Curiosity is a fine horse, Erin. Keep reins on it." Outside, the town hums around a pending resort development, promises of jobs on one side, warnings about water and wildlife on the other. The diner keeps 2 tip jars by the register, yes resort and no resort, each clinking its argument. Erin lifts the object to the window. Sun threads across incisions faint beneath earth and age. She tests herself. Document, don't declare. In a notebook, she diagrams measurements, sketches the spiral, writes, "Unknown, possibly ceremonial," then scratches the words out. At the top of the page, she adds a rule in block letters. Ask first. She photographs as though certainty could bruise it, bracketing exposures and recording angles until the light slides off the sill. A filament of purpose tightens inside her, not the old rush for a headline, but the steadier heat of caretaking. Between worlds, that's how she has always lived, asphalt to trail, lens to eye, outsider to insider. Yet the object hums like a tuning fork. Her loneliness doesn't vanish, it aligns, pointing somewhere old and necessary. She packs her camera, wraps the find in the washcloth, pockets her notebook, and steps toward town with hope and a steady breath, ready to follow the next sign. At the ranger station, fluorescent lights make everything blunt. Luis Navarro turns the object in gloved hands, face arranged between wonder and work. "Whatever it is, it's not trash," he says, weighing it on his palm, "and that makes it complicated." Erin nods, fighting the urge to tell the whole story at once. She lays out what she recorded, the spiral cut shallow under grime, a second ring of tiny hash marks near the edge, a hard mineral sheen that isn't from this ridge's common stones. Along one notch clings a fray of braided fibre, dry as straw yet stubbornly intact. Luis points to the fibre. If that's plant cordage, we treat this as a potential cultural item. Chain of custody. No social media, no digging, no scouting, no guessing out loud. His tone is gentle, the way you stop someone from stepping backward into a ravine. I haven't posted anything identifying, Erin says. Just texture shots. Good. Keep it that way. He slips the token into a padded box. I'll call the county and the tribe. Meanwhile, you keep your eyes open. On the cat too. Wildlife behavior matters here. The bobcat, she says, hearing how the word steadies her. She didn't act afraid, more like... Erin searches. As if I was late to something. Luis's mouth tilts. Let's not add meanings the animal didn't volunteer. They file the paperwork. A copier hums like summer insects. By dusk, Erin is back on the switchback, light thinning to silver, camera warm against her pulse. She plants herself downwind, still as lichen, every sense tuned to the slope. A scrape of gravel. 2 green coins brighten the trail. The bobcat steps into view, shoulders rolling, whiskers forward. In her mouth, nothing. In her posture, intent. She pauses exactly where the token was dropped, tests the air, then flicks her gaze upslope, holding it there as if pointing. The wind lifts, carrying juniper and damp stone, and the trail seems newly drawn by the cat. Erin's breath finds a quiet pocket. She clicks once, soft, respectful, then lowers the camera. Okay, she whispers, I'm watching. Under the gooseneck lamp in the station workroom, Erin builds a tiny island of care. Lint-free cloth, soft sable brush, rubber bulb blower, bamboo skewer wrapped in cotton, distilled water in a dropper. No solvents, no scraping. Luis signs the log and folds his arms at the door. Supervision without hovering. Erin photographs the token from every quadrant, bracketing exposures, raking light across its battered face. Pixels bloom on her laptop, fractures like river deltas, a shallow spiral interrupted by old impact, mineral glitter in seams where dirt has lived a long time. She does not wash, she coaxes. The brush lifts grains, the bulb breathes dust away. A wick of moistened cotton touches a margin and withdraws, leaving the faintest luster. The room gathers an unexpected scent, wet clay braided with juniper resin, as if the object remembers a different air. Turning it with gloved fingers, she feels weight disproportionate to size, center of mass slightly off, as though something inside once shifted. Along one edge, a triangle of inset stone peeks out, translucent, river-glass green, not native to this basalt and schist ridge. Names rush to fill the unknown. Fishing weight? No perforation for line, and the balance fights the idea. Locket, no hinge, no seam, and the interior rattles only in imagination. Trinket? Too deliberate, too worked, the incisions neither decoration nor drift. She sketches possibilities in her notebook. Way marker, bead, token, then draws a rectangle around the words, do not assume. Aunt Jay's warning rides her pulse. Keep reins on that horse. Erin measures thickness with calipers, notes micro-abrasions that arc like someone once rubbed it with a thumb while walking. That night she posts a blurred teaser to her tiny channel. 10 seconds, no location, scale obscured, captioned, material ID only, cultural context unknown, DMs from specialists welcome. The internet, uninterested in fences, pours in anyway. Victorian locket, Spanish shoe buckle, geocache charm, alien battery, Paleo-Indian gaming piece. Someone links an Etsy replica, another insists it's a bullet mold, which it plainly is not. Erin locks comments, pins a note about consultation, and stares at the soft-lit spiral on her screen, feeling the hum of it under the noise. Every false name sheds a layer of certainty. What remains grows clearer and stranger. The county library breathes dust and copier heat, a quiet engine of memory. Erin spreads topo maps under a lamp, paper glowing like skin. Highlighter in one hand, pencil in the other, she traces the switchback where the cat appeared, then widens the circle, drainages, saddles, faint survey lines ghosting the hills. On a back table, the microfilm reader purrs, headlines leap from the past. Washout exposes strange stones, rumoured footpath links ridge to river. She scrolls to a 1911 farmer's journal, ink slanted and stubborn. Cat spirit seen at dusk, one line reads, bringing luck objects to porches when storms turn bad. Another entry mentions circles scratched like wind beside a spring that no longer shows on modern maps. Erin copies the passages in her notebook, then carefully sketches the spring's approximate position, aligning it against contour lines like fitting a rib back in a chest. Modern layers answer. The county wildlife plan maps bobcat corridors as soft bands of probability flowing from the refuge to town's shadow. Luis's old field notes mark scent posts and game gates. When Erin overlays past path and present corridor, the two lines kiss separate, then meet again, precisely where she stood with the bobcat. The room seems to contract as if significance has its own gravity. She takes a breath, feeling playful, click of the hunt, slow into steadier weight. Aunt Jay's voicemail plays in her head. Be careful with stories, they move faster than truth. Erin writes it at the top of her page and boxes it in ink. Outside, the resort's survey stakes blink orange in roadside weeds. Inside, a three-part chord forms, animal, map, memory, vibrating along the same ridge. Erin folds the clippings, tucks the copies into a manila folder, and labels it with one word she can live with for now. Threads. Erin angles her laptop toward the workroom table, the token resting on a ring of foam. Professor Lin Tran appears on video among shelves of boxed sherds and labelled bags. First rule, Lin says, firm. Context is the artifact. Object without context is a riddle with its verbs removed. Erin tilts the camera. Lin studies the spiral, edge scars, the fray of braid. That twist looks hand-spun, Lin says. Pre-industrial cordage in this region often shows a Z-twist. Could be dogbane or milkweed, but we do not decide from pixels. No solvent, no scrubbing. Photograph with scale, pad, and bag. Log every transfer. Erin's eagerness outpaces her mouth. If I retrace the bobcat's line, I might find... Please don't, Lin cuts in. Unpermitted scouting reads as prospecting. You could compromise a site and its protection. Next step is consultation with the Tribal Historic Preservation Office. They lead, we support. Luis will forward contacts and help formalize the request, Lin assures her personally. Chain of custody becomes a ritual. New entry number, signatures, inner bag, archival outer, silica packet, scent, juniper, wet clay. Lin asks for oblique, raking light photos and macro shots of the fibre. Hypotheses, not headlines. Erin nods, feeling the reins tighten, grateful and restless. Through the station window, high-vis vests flicker on a distant ridge. Two workers plant a GPS rod, an orange flag snaps. Aunt Jay texts, saw survey trucks near Silver Draw. Be careful, kiddo. The development company? Erin asks. I've read the filings, Lin answers. Their timetable rewards absence of evidence. Our job is to slow the clock, not feed rumour. Speak precisely or not at all. Erin prints at the top of a page. Permission, contacts, boundaries. Beneath it, she adds one more word. Patience, then underlines it twice. The Tribal Historic Preservation Office smells of cedar and paper. Maps of rivers and ridges line one wall, old roots veining the country like a palm. Daniel Redcloud greets Erin with a steady warmth, braided hair, weathered hands, a field notebook softened by years. He gestures to a felt-lined tray. Let's give it a quiet place to speak. Under raking light, he studies the token without touching at first. Spiral, incised, shallow, he murmurs. Edge scars are old, not fresh. And that braid, dogbane or milkweed, I'd guess. Z-twist. Pre-contact techniques in this region often carry that sign. He lifts the piece in gloved fingers, angles it, listens the way some people listen to seashells. This isn't jewelry, he says gently.
Not the way the word works now. It reads like a waypoint token, carried, exchanged, set near water or crossings to confirm a path. Spirals in our area often speak to movement, return, keeping the circle. He points to a faint, dark smear along one face. Soot stain, maybe? Pocket smoke or hearth memory? Erin's chest tightens, not with triumph, but consequence. I posted only a blurred teaser, she says quickly. No place names, no scale. Daniel nods. Thank you for the care. I'm asking for more. He slides a single-page agreement across the table. No public posting, no coordinates, no speculative claims, all steps in consultation. We treat this as living history with living relatives. Consent is the first tool out of the bag, she signs.
As the ink feels heavier than it should, Daniel rebags the token, double sleeves it, logs the chain. We'll request a formal survey. If the council approves, you can document process under our guidance. Faces if they wish, features only as we allow. Storytellers are welcome when they listen as much as they speak. He studies Erin. What do you want here? To not break what I hope to keep safe, she answers, surprised by her own clarity. He smiles, small and real. Good compass. He taps a route on the wall map that threads near the switchback. When protocols are in place, we'll walk there together. For now, let silence do some of the work. Erin leaves lighter and heavier at once, trusted, and carrying that trust like a full bowl. Under a fiber-optic ring light, the token becomes a landscape. Ridges of accretion like dried riverbeds, a shallow spiral crossing them like a footpath. Lynn works beside a conservation tech. Photomicrographs bloom on a monitor, granular crusts interleaved with mica sparkle, soot, freckles nested in old scratches. Nothing modern reveals itself, no poured resin, no machining chatter, no glossy varnish hiding age. A single filament of braid is teased to the edge of a slide. Under higher magnification, the twist declares itself, Z-spin, plant fiber, kinked where fingers once tightened it. Dogbane, Lynn murmurs, or milkweed, pre-industrial methods match. She logs each image with scale and angle, parcels the filament into an archival envelope, and returns the token to its foam cradle as if setting a sleeping child down. Chemical swabs come back negative for modern oils. A gentle IR capture shows residue in the incisions, char, clay, and something resinous that smells faintly of the desert after rain. Oldness without a calendar, Lynn says. We can bracket possibilities, not pronounce dates. Erin, behind the glass, feels both chastened and relieved. Certainty would invite headlines she cannot afford. Then Lynn tilts the token and motions Erin closer. Along the highest ridge, amid patina, a run of silvery hairline abrasions flashes like fresh water. They are shallow and irregular, skidding across older wear as if recently jostled by stone and grit. Buried a long time, Lynn says softly, and only lately brought up. Erin thinks of paws and a trail and the waiting cat. Late sun spills through the preservation office, warming the map wall like old parchment. The token rests bagged on felt. 3 chairs draw close. Daniel Redcloud, Professor Lynn Tran, and Erin, palms flat on her notebook to steady the tremor she won't name. Lynn begins in the careful cadence of someone placing stones. Non-destructive tests point to pre-contact manufacture. Plant cordage with Z-twist, mineral accretions consistent with long burial, no modern machining. Function is hypothesized, not proved, but... She gestures to the spiral. This motif here, combined with wear patterns, fits a carried marker. Daniel nods. In our languages, the spiral often speaks of movement and return, path kept, circle honored. Tokens like this show up along water and crossing places, sometimes exchanged to confirm safe passage. Pre-colonial, yes, and still ours, because our people are still here. The words land like a bell, struck once and ringing a long time. Erin feels the strike travel through her, past grant rejections, past the fizzled pitch, past the tight fist of self-doubt. She lets out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Joy rises, clean, startling, then steadies into responsibility. Daniel's tone shifts. Validation invites danger. If a location leaks, looters come first, bulldozers second. We need quiet, paperwork, and patience. He slides a draft plan across the table, confidential locus description, council review, a request for a limited survey with tribal monitors in the county. Lynn adds the press line, ongoing consultation, no further comment. Erin signs on as documentarian under guidance, no coordinates, no speculative captions, faces only with consent. Her camera, for the first time in months, feels like a tool of service rather than hunger. Outside, an orange survey flag clicks in the wind, like a metronome counting down someone else's schedule. Inside, they choose a different tempo. Belongs to living descendants, not headlines, Lynn says. Daniel meets Erin's eyes. Stewardship over ownership. Erin nods, throat thick. The story she wanted to tell is real. The story she must protect is larger. She tucks the signed agreement into her notebook, as if tucking a flame from wind. She whispers, "I'll carry this carefully." They start before heat wakes the stones. Luis leads with a quiet hand, Daniel marks bearings, and Erin watches the ground until the ground begins to speak. Here, a neat oval pad print with 2 lobes in the heel and no claw marks. Bobcat, fresh enough to hold nights cool. There, a low juniper rubbed smooth at chest height, musky and faint, a scent post. The corridor threads along a contour that spares energy, skirted by boulders like sleeping cattle. They fan outward, then reconverge at a saddle. The air tastes of iron and sage. Erin sweeps her lens across a patch of soil that looks wrong, darker, as if water once paused here. Luis kneels and blows dust from a scatter of thin, sharp flakes. Heat-spalled, edges gleaming. Not random breakage, but the story of making. Nearby, a faint crescent stain freckles the earth, charcoal teased into it like shadow, hearth memory pressed flat by time. Daniel lifts a gloved hand. Slow. He flags the scatter, sketches the saddle in his notebook, murmurs the words that open quiet. We acknowledge this place and ask to tread lightly. Erin lowers her camera. Sometimes witness means stillness first. 10 steps downslope, she spots a pale punctuation in brown soil. A shell bead, pierced clean, its surface worn creamy by touch. Ocean far from here, and yet here, proof of hands trading news and kinship along routes older than the county line. Erin feels the canyon widen inside her chest. Radio chatter snaps from across the draw. A UTV noses around a bend, orange vests bright as poppies. Dylan Rusk, the resort foreman, brakes and stands with a construction man's stance, thumbs hooked in his belt. "Morning. You folks realize this is an active assessment zone?" Luis answers even. "Public land, authorized cultural reconnaissance with tribal oversight." Dylan's smile is practiced. "Our client has preliminary rights of way, future amenities, Liabilities are bare if you're off the posted trail. Daniel meets him with calm that doesn't bend. We've initiated protective review. Until determinations are complete, we're asking for a buffer. No grading, no trenching. Erin lets the camera rise, just enough to frame hands, flags, the bead in its marked square, no faces without consent. Dylan's gaze flicks to the lens. You recording on my crew? Documenting the land, Erin says. Not you. Tempers tilt. A surveyor huffs. A boot scuffs at the saddle's edge. Luis steps between the flag and the scuff, voice low as water in shade. Daniel speaks like a plumb line. Cultural sensitivity boundary here, here, and here. He plants flagged whiskers that flutter like small, firm breaths. The canyon holds them to its scale. Wind threads juniper. A hawk writes a looping sentence overhead. Dylan finally shrugs, radios a terse update, and backs the UTV away. Dust hanging like an ellipsis. Erin exhales only when the sound fades. The shell bead gleams softly in its square. A small moon declaring tide where no sea lies. By morning the town feels smaller. At the diner, the tip jars, yes resort and no resort, now read, jobs now, and keep the ridge. Someone recognizes her and looks away. A barista whispers, "Are you the cat girl?" The question lodges like a pebble. Her 10-second teaser, meant to invite help, has been screenshotted, slowed, circled in red. A forum claims she staged it with a trinket from Etsy. Another post insists she stole from public land that belongs in the county museum. DMs thud into her inbox, hoaxer, thief, hero, witch. Even compliments feel predatory. Erin locks the video and posts a plain note, consulting with Tribal Historic Preservation and County. No locations will be shared. Replies multiply. Cover-up. Grift. Corporate shill. Screens glow like brush fires. Luis texts, breathe, paperwork first. Daniel calls, voice steady. Storms of story roll in before the facts, he says. Let them pass. We'll ask council for a formal survey with monitors. You may document under our protocols. No faces without consent, no features beyond what we designate. What about the foreman? Erin asks. He has a schedule. We have a responsibility, Daniel answers. Different clocks. At the grocery, a woman corners her between produce bins. My nephew needs that job, she says. Why do you care more about rocks than people? Erin swallows. I care about both, she says, and hates how small it sounds. Another night she pulls the teaser entirely and writes 3 questions by hand. Whose story is this? Who is harmed by my telling? What must remain unwritten? She sets the notebook beside the padded bag and turns off the light, choosing quiet over accuracy's murder by speed. In the dark, resolve settles like a stone, unmoving as water goes past. The morning the council's approval arrives, the canyon breathes like a held note released. Tribal monitors stand with Daniel at the perimeter. Luis logs weather, coordinates. Erin slings her camera, but keeps it low. This is not spectacle. This is a listening. String lines snap into a grid, 10 by 10 units staked with whiskers that tick. Topsoil is brushed back with goat hair brooms, not shovels, as if waking a sleeping elder. Screens sway over sleds, sifted earth drizzles through mesh like time learning to fall again. Every artifact gets a field number, bag, tag, sketch, photo, and quiet. The first surprises are small and stubborn, charcoal flecks caught in a faint hearth stain. A thumb-sized pigment stone that smears red when wetted, and whispers of hands making colour. A sherd of pottery with temper, not seen in local clays, grit sparkling like frost. Someone carried it from elsewhere. Then a marine shell bead, cream worn soft as knuckle skin. Ocean's proof, 100 land days from shore. Erin photographs from the edge, letting angles, not zoom, do the work. When wonder swells, she lowers the lens. Daniel marks a feature, a shallow arc of stones set with intention rather than gravity. Edge of something, he says, and the crew slows further, breath matched to brushes. At 20 centimeters down, one unit pauses. A flat stone sits like a lid over nothing the earth would have arranged. Trowels trade for bamboo.
A leaf litter hush gathers. The cap lifts. Underneath, a compact cache, fist-wide, nested stones cupping two objects. One is a token, spiral shallow, edge scars old, a river glass inset flashing green. Erin's throat closes, a twin to the bobcat's gift, answering from the ground. The second piece is smaller, perforated, soot-darkened, a companion marker. Silence ripples, then returns, deeper. Luis radios the county. Daniel signs an emergency protection request, voice level, hand steady. The grid freezes, flags multiply. Erin does not shoot the reveal. She writes instead, "Found with guidance, handle with gratitude." The canyon holds the words without echo, as if keeping them safe.
Night drops, sudden. After the last crew leaves, wind has teeth. Erin and Luis double back with headlamps to secure the grid. The canyon is a black bowl. Their beams slide over whisker flags. At Unit C3, the string sags. A stake lies cut, the square collapsed, soil clodded. A tire track stutters into scrub, vanishes. Erin kneels, shaking. On the apron of sand, 4 ragged gouges and a bead of dark. She angles the lamp, a bobcat track, heel pad clean, 2 toe lobes crisp, and a smear of red dragged through the print. A kink of baling wire glints, snagged with tawny hairs. "I did this," she says. "I made noise. I brought them." Luis's jaw hardens. "They came for the land, not your 10 seconds. "You warned me," she says.
"I posted first." "We both knew the risk," he answers. "This is on pressure, not you." Footsteps. Daniel's light arrives. He takes in the cut line, the kicked unit, wire, track. "No guesses," he says. "Assumptions are gasoline. We document. Call it in. Hold the perimeter." Bags open. Photos click. Gloves rustle. Pencils scratch. Measured notes in margins. Coordinates murmur into the radio. Wind plucks at tarps. In chaparral, something moves, a small sound like brush teeth on cloth. "What if she's bleeding out?" Erin whispers. "The wildlife officer will track at first light," Daniel says. "Tonight we defend the site." She turns to Luis. "Do you trust me?" "I trust the process," he says.
"You're still learning. You're calling me a risk. Be precise or step back." They stand in their cones of light, 3 islands in grit and cold, while the cut strings whisper of hands that came without permission. Erin feels the story slip into the dark, and for the first time she fears its return. Rain stacks over the ridge like slate. Before dawn, thunder rolls the canyon awake, and the grid shivers under tarps that seem made of paper. Luis radios the crew to stand clear. Daniel is on the sat phone requesting an emergency injunction, irreparable harm, cultural features exposed, storm surge imminent. Erin and Luis sprint the string lines, pinning corners with sandbags while gusts tear at the whiskers. A rip of whitewater barrels down a side gully. "We'll lose C2, Luis shouts. Erin measures the angle of flow, brain switching to trail crew math, slope, catchment, spill. They drag straw wattles from the truck bed, stake them in chevrons, stack flat stones as splash armor, and shovel a diversion lip above the most fragile features. Mud, sloughs, her boots fill with grit and cold. The tarps heave, then settle against the makeshift ribs. Daniel jogs in, his breath visible and shoulders spattered with rain. Judge signed the restraining order, county on alert, no grading, no survey access, effective now. He kneels, palms the soil. The rain answers by softening. Then a thin cry knifes the wind, a cat's pain, not distance but near. Under a rock overhang they find her, the bobcat, left foreleg fur matted dark, wire bitten nearly to a kink. She hisses, then sags. Luis throws his jacket over her eyes. Erin braces the body while he frees the snare with pliers and calm words. The rehabber's truck noses in, lights ghosted by rain. The barrier holds. So does the story. By afternoon, the canyon smells of clean stone and wet sage, and signatures dry in the community hall where coffee steams beside a topo map. The Memorandum of Understanding runs 5 pages, a cultural buffer around mapped features, seasonal closures for denning and migration, tribal monitors empowered to halt work, controlled research permits, community jobs training youth as stewards and docents, a scholarship fund seeded by the county, the university, and, quietly, 2 resort investors. A standstill on grading holds until cultural review is complete. Erin's role shifts from seeker to caretaker. Under the tribe's guidance, she will film process, not treasure. Voices, not rumors. Hands at work, not secrets.
A camera will go where consent goes and no farther. She signs a new agreement, hands Daniel twin drives of all footage, and asks, finally, without hurry, "What do you need from me?" "Patience, precision, listening," he says, "and credit that points back, not forward." She finds Luis at the doorway. "I'm sorry," she tells him, "for the noise before the foundation." He taps the brim of his hat, a dry smile warming his eyes. "You also sandbagged C2 when you stayed with the cat. Your instincts got us here faster. Keep them tied to the process." Outside, survey flags hang limp, irrelevant for now. Inside, people move chairs, label bins, and sketch lesson plans for school visits. Erin feels the ache in her shoulders lighten. Stewardship, she thinks, is a story told in the plural. The work begins with care and shared breath.
Autumn sun lays gold over the new overlook, a quiet cedar rail tracing the ridge. Panels speak softly in 2 languages about paths, trade, and return. Schoolchildren cluster around Daniel as he tells how listening keeps a place intact. Luis demonstrates how to read a track like a sentence. Erin films wide, then lowers the camera, wanting the moment unframed. From the shadowed slope comes a brief figure, lean, steady, the rehabilitated bobcat. She pauses above the ribbon of trail, blinks once toward the gathered humans and flows back into juniper. A small boy tugs his teacher's sleeve. "She brought it back," he whispers. Erin records only the wind and boots shifting on gravel. Her voice,
Later. "We do not own the old stories or the land that holds them. We walk carefully, keep the circle, and return the gift to those it has always belonged to before we are gone. Always."